Welcome to Messianic Age. Today is the 4th of May 2026. The United States is at war with Iran. According to Bible prophecy, Iran will outlive the United States. Let me repeat. According to Bible prophecy, Iran will outlive the United States. And this prophecy is in the Bible. Let's read from Daniel chapter 8 from verse 1. Daniel writes, in the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, that's the king of Babylon, a vision appeared to me, Daniel. Verse 2, I saw in the vision, and so it happened while I was looking, that I was in Shusha, or Susa, the citadel, which is in the province of Elam. Now let's take a step back and look at the setting of Shusha or Susa. The city Susa still exists today. It's called Shush. It's in the province of Khuzestan in Iran. In the Bible, Iran was called Persia. Persia was renamed Iran in 1935. So whenever we see the name Persia, it refers to Iran. So the setting of Daniel's prophecy was in Persia, was in Iran. Verse 3, then I lifted my eyes and saw, and there, standing beside the river, was a ram which had 2 horns. Let's go to verse 4. I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward, so that no animal could withstand him, nor was there any that could deliver from his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. And let's move to verse 20. Verse 20 reads, the ram which you saw, having 2 horns, they are the kings of Media and Persia. So the ram represents Media and Persia, which became one kingdom, which was just known as Persia. So the ram became an empire under the leadership of King Cyrus. He built Persia into an empire that extended all the way to the Caucasus, southern Caucasus Mountains, to Turkey, to all of the Levant and Egypt. So the Medes and the Persians, they combined, they united to form one kingdom, which became Persia and is now called Iran. Let's read further in order to understand the prophetic setting. Verse 5, and as I was considering, suddenly a male goat came from the west across the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And verse 21 of chapter 8 of Daniel. And the male goat is the kingdom of Greece. The large horn that is between his eyes is the first king, and that's Alexander the Great. So we first had the ram with 2 horns, the Medes and the Persians, which became known as Persia, which became known as Iran, and was toppled by Alexander the Great of Greece. And he was the big horn on the head of the goat. The goat represents Greece. And that first horn was Alexander the Great. He toppled the kingdom of Persia. He toppled Iran. Verse 6, then he, the goat of Greece, came to the ram, that's Persia, that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing beside the river, and ran at him with furious power. And I saw him, that is Greece, confronting the ram Persia. He was moved with rage against him, attacked the ram, and broke his 2 horns. So Persia toppled. So let me rephrase. Greece toppled Persia. Verse Verse 8. Therefore, the male goat, that's Greece, grew very great. But when it became strong, the large horn was broken, and in place of it, 4 notable ones came up toward the 4 winds of heaven. So, after the death of Alexander the Great, his kingdom was divided into 4 parts. One of those 4 parts was Macedonia. And Macedonia was the seat of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, the king of Greece, was a Macedonian. He came from Macedonia. And this is now where we will see the emergence of the United States. The United States came from that part, emerged from Macedonia. Let's read further. The king of Greece, Alexander the Great, came from Macedonia. Okay. Now, the governor of Macedonia, his name was Gaius Octavian, was the father of Octavian, the first Roman emperor. Therefore, the Roman Empire rose out of Greece, or more precisely, the Roman Empire rose out of Macedonia, which was a territory of Greece, or the Grecian Empire. The Roman Empire was eventually divided into the western part, or the Western Empire, which was ruled from Rome by what became the Roman Catholic Church. And the Eastern Empire was ruled from Constantinople, now the city of Istanbul, in Turkey. Now, the United States came out of the Western Roman Empire. Specifically, the United States was formed by the British King, James I of England, also known as James VI of Scotland, through the Virginia Charter, which enabled the Virginia Company of London to establish colonies in North America, which became the United States of America. So the United States is the modern Rome. The United States is the modern Rome. The United States is an extension of Western Rome, which was ruled by the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church crowned the kings of Western Rome, of the Western Roman Empire. And one of those kings was James I of England, a Scottish king. And America was formed by the Virginia Company under the charter issued by King James I of England. And America is thus the modern Rome. But the story doesn't end there. Let's read. Okay, just before we read, let me explain further. So, the Statue of Liberty is the personification of the United States. The Statue of Liberty was modeled after the Roman goddess Libertas. But according to the Congressional Medal of Honor Society, which was is a body chartered by the American Congress, the Statue of Liberty was also inspired by Queen Semiramis of Babylon. So the Statue of Liberty is the statue of a Babylonian queen. And this Babylonian queen is called Babylon the Great, the woman Babylon the Great, in Revelation chapter 17. Let's read there. Revelation chapter 17 from verse 5 reads, "And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. It's clear from reading here that Babylon the Great is a woman, and that woman is what we call the Statue of Liberty today. She is also known in Washington, D.C. as Columbia, or freedom. She's got a statue on top of the Capitol building, which is called Freedom. Freedom is a synonym of liberty. She's also called Columbia, and the District of Columbia is where the government of the United States is based. So, Babylon the Great is liberty. Babylon the Great is the Statue of Liberty. Babylon the Great is America, which is personified by the Statue of Liberty. So we have Iran, which is Persia, and was toppled by Greece under the leadership of Alexander the Great. And out of Greece emerged Rome, out of Macedonia specifically came Rome. The governor of Macedonia was the father of Octavian, the first Roman emperor. So Rome emerged out of Macedonia, which was part of the Grecian Empire. And Rome became an empire that was divided into two parts. The eastern part was ruled from Istanbul, which was then called Constantinople, and the western part was ruled from Rome, which was under the popes, which we now know as the Roman Catholic Church. And that Western Empire expanded into the so-called New World, where we now have the United States as an offshoot, a modern offshoot of ancient Rome, or more specifically of the ancient Western Roman Empire. So let's look at the fate of both Iran and the United States. Iran is also known as the second beast. And let's quickly go through Daniel chapter 7 in order to understand that Iran was not only represented by the ram, but Iran was also represented by a beast. And it was the second beast that was prophesied by Daniel. Daniel chapter 7, from verse 3. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, each different from the other. Verse 4, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. This was Babylon. This was the lion with eagle's wings was the emblem, was one of the emblems of Babylon. Verse 5, and suddenly another beast, a second like a bear, that is Persia, that's Iran. Verse 6, and after this I looked, there was another, that is the third beast, like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads. These are the 4 kingdoms that emerged after the death of Alexander the Great. These are the 4 splinter kingdoms that came up after the death of Alexander the Great. And dominion was given to it. Verse 7. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. It was devouring, breaking in pieces, and trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. It had 10 horns. Now, the beast that is coming after the United States will have 10 horns. This fourth beast has not yet emerged. The beast that we have now, which is the Roman Empire, which is part, and its offshoot is the United States of America, that beast will be overthrown. But specifically, not the beast itself, but the woman will be overthrown. In other words, the United States, the one which is personified by liberty, who is Babylon the Great of the Bible, will be overthrown before the final beast rises up. And this final beast is the beast of the Antichrist, the beast that we call the Antichrist, the kingdom of the Antichrist, and will have 10 horns, will have 10 kings. Let's read further. In Revelation chapter 17, verse 12, we read that these 10 kings that will rise as part of the kingdom of the Antichrist, these 10 kings that are about to rise, they have not risen yet, they are just about to rise. This is what we read. Revelation chapter 17, verse 12. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet. Why? Because they will receive their kingdom when the Antichrist rises. But they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast. The beast here refers to the Antichrist, the final king, the last beast that is just about to rise. These are of one mind, and they will give their power and authority to the beast. Verse 16, and the 10 horns which you saw on the beast, this will hate the harlot. Who is the harlot? The United States of America. Liberty. The United States of America is the harlot, Babylon the Great, as manifested in the goddess liberty. So, the 10 kings that are about to rise will hate the United States. They will abhor the United States. Let's continue in verse 16. This will hate the harlot, the 10 kings will hate the harlot, make her desolate and naked, eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Listen very carefully. The United States will be bombed out of existence. The United States is about to be overthrown and blown out of existence. The United States will be burnt with fire. We don't know if this will be true nuclear weapons, but the United States will be no more. The United States is on its last legs. The United States is Babylon the Great. And if you look closely at the current geopolitics, you find that there's a rift between the United States and its former allies who are based in Europe. Because the 10 kings that will arise from Europe. Those bloodlines will come out of Europe. That will rule the whole world under the Antichrist. They will arise out of Europe. And that's why there is a rift between the United States and its former allies in Europe. Is the beginning of that hatred. The United States is stirring up hatred, especially under the administration of President Trump. And that hatred will grow, will increase to the point where action will be taken by the 10 kings that will rise. And America will be blown out of existence. America will be no more. That is the fate of America. Now, let's look at Iran. Let's look at Iran. Iran, remember that Iran is the ram, but it's also the second beast, which looks like a bear, which resembles a bear. So Iran, after this last beast has risen, the one with 10 kings, Jesus will return and destroy that kingdom. He will destroy the kingdom of the Antichrist. But there's something interesting that I'm going to read to you now. Daniel chapter 7 verse 12 reads, "As for the rest of the beasts," which are the rest of the beasts? The beasts that are not the Antichrist kingdom. The other kingdoms that had existed, including Iran, including Persia, that existed before the rise of the Antichrist kingdom that is coming, that is just about to rise. So Jesus will return and destroy that last kingdom with 10 kings, the kingdom of the Antichrist. But the rest of the beasts, including Iran, this is what the Daniel chapter 7 verse 12 says. As for the rest of the beasts, including Iran, including Persia, they had their dominion taken away. So they were no longer powers. They were no longer great regional powers. Yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. So when Jesus comes back and destroys the kingdom of the Antichrist, Persia or Iran will remain. Its life will be prolonged. They won't have the power anymore because Jesus will be the King of Kings and Lords of Lords. He will rule also over Iran. He will rule over the kings, whoever will be ruling Iran at that time. But Iran will survive. Iran will be there in the kingdom of Jesus. This means that throughout the millennium, Iran will be there, but the United States will be no more. So Iran will outlive the United States. Regardless of what's going on, whoever's winning the war in Iran between the United States and America, it is written in the Bible. It has been prophesied that America will be destroyed. America will be annihilated, obliterated out of existence. But Iran will remain and will be there when Jesus comes back. Will be there throughout the millennium. So here is the bottom line, is the conclusion of it all. Iran will outlive the United States by as long as 1,000 years, because Jesus will rule for 1,000 years. And that, dear viewer, is the end of the matter. Do not be alarmed. Do not look at the current events and think that's the end of it. In the long run, Iran will remain and America will be no more. Thank you.